Seems like the story today was the defense, not just a handful of guys, but pretty much the entire defense. What did you see that allowed them to come together the way they did to stop a quarterback of that caliber?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cam Ward's one of the really special quarterbacks, and I think he was 19 of 39. He hadn't thrown a pick on the season. To pick him twice, we knew that was going to be a challenge. But I think it was both. It was the coverage on the back end, and that was a question earlier in the week. How are those guys going to hold up? And I thought they did a great job. We didn't get any balls thrown over our heads, and they have been doing that to everybody. And then the pressure that our front provided and our linebackers provided, and there was a bunch of them. That's the cool part about today, is that there were so many guys that contributed specifically on that side, and it was impressive to see. They play hard, they play for each other, and it was really impressive. So I think that was really the story in terms of shutting them down. I think it was the total team defense to shut them down.
And Dan Lynn's role in coordinating that defense?
Yeah, so they did an outstanding job. Dan and that whole group, I think our entire defensive staff, led by him, did an unbelievable job. Because that was the number 2 ranked passing offense in the country. And to hold them to that and not allow them really to rush it was outstanding. And really we gave them 1 score on the offensive side of the ball. So, but besides that, they were phenomenal. So the whole coaching staff and players were outstanding on the defensive side.
Coach, Keegan Jones had no rushes coming into today, and then you guys call on him twice in the red zone and he scores. What can you say about his involvement and what led to his usage in those big spots in the red zone?
Just a package. I think he had a carry earlier in the year, though. You may just check on that. He's versatile. He can do a couple different things. We threw out of it. It was a pass we missed to Carson. To Carson. We have too many Carsons. To our tight end, we missed him. They went to review with it, but then we came back with a couple runs out of it and felt like we had something there. But that's Keegan. He's got some versatility. He had a pretty good kickoff return also. They kicked it away from our one returner and kicked it to the other side, and he did a really good job of getting the ball up the field. So again, there was a lot of guys that contributed on the offensive side of the ball. I thought our tight ends. I thought Mo was huge. He came up really big. Carson Steele was really big for us today. You got to have that when you're in a game like this against a really good football team. I was a 13th ranked team in the country, so it took everybody.
And then I want to ask about those tight ends. They combined for 6 catches and 160 yards. How much depth does that add and versatility in your passing game when you have those guys?
It all helps. I think we got contributions from our wideouts. I thought J. Mike did some really nice things today. Obviously, Logan did some really good things today. And then when you got the tight ends contributing the way they're contributing, and then the backs between TJ and Carson, and then Colson did some nice things today in there, and Keegan. So, I think it was a really good team victory.
Chip, the offense through the first 3 quarters in the red zone, what do you think were the issues there? And then also, what did you think about the 2 touchdowns that were wiped away? I think the catch by Carson and then the one by J. Michael.
Yeah, we're not allowed to comment on that stuff, so I can't comment on that, unfortunately. But I'd love to, but I can't. So, they're a good football. We knew they were a good football team coming in, so we knew it wasn't going to be an easy deal. Jake's a defensive guy. That's a very well coached defense. We knew we were going to have a challenge, and they weren't the 13th ranked team in the country for. We didn't think we were going to come in here and blow them out of the stadium. So we moved the ball, but I think at times we hurt ourselves offensively. But we'll continue to grow and get better.
Coach, what can you say about the composure and patience of this team? There was that pick 6 right before the half, but then they come out and you guys eventually get the win. Did you say anything to the team? Did they say anything to each other?
Yeah, we talk about that stuff all the time. I think in games, 3 things happen: momentum swings, adversity, and just random acts. And the key to the whole thing is if you're a competitor, you respond to it, and if you're a non-competitor, you react to it. And I think we found out what we known all along. We had a bunch of competitors, and they responded. We knew that was going to be a good football team. We knew that was not going to be where it was over at the end of the first half. We were just going to have to keep banging away, and fortunately we did. I think we ran 90. I don't know what the final. It was 97 maybe. What was the final tally for plays on offense?
77.
How many?
97.
Yeah, we were trying to match the temperature, so. It was 97, we were gonna run 97. Unfortunately, our guys followed that, because when we played Coastal, it was 60 degrees out, we only ran 60 plays. So we're gonna try to get that formula changed, especially if we have to go to Corvallis, because I don't think it's gonna be 90 in Corvallis next Saturday, so.
Yeah, Coach, two questions. Just the dominance of the run game, Coach. I want you to.
I lost, other
Yeah, right here. Just the dominance of the run game. Like, you guys were able to really, move the ball a lot. Carson was able to really dominate over 120 plus yards. And then the second question: how are you able to get Dante? Get him poised and get himself together after the late interception in the second half. Having no turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get Dante poised. He's poised to begin with. I think he's got a really good view of things. I think he understands if he makes a mistake. We just talk about, you win and you learn. So if it doesn't go the way you want it, what was the reason it didn't go the way you wanted? And let's fix it. He doesn't make many mistakes twice. The only issue is that he hasn't had a lot of snaps. He's a true freshman, so there's some on-the-job training there that we'll learn from that. But he's an amazing kid to coach, because he wants to be coached, and he'll go back in. I'm sure he'll watch the game tonight and make adjustments, and then we'll meet with him tomorrow, because we're back in on Sunday. So, but that poise is, you don't have to get him to get poised. He's poised. He was poised before he got here.
Chip, the defense was pretty stout against Utah, so was there confidence even during the bye week, or a sense that this kind of performance could come against Washington State? And then, I know you don't look like looking back at stuff, but is this one of the best defensive performances you've been a part of?
We just talk about the process, so, and I'm really proud of them, but I think they played really well in every game we played. I thought they played really well in defense against Coastal Carolina. Had 2 huge picks in the second half for us in that game. I thought they played really well on defense against San Diego State. Obviously, in North Carolina Central game, they scored late against, really our young kids that were in the game, and I thought they played good then, and they played good last week against Utah, and they played good again this week. But we're not comparing or contrasting. I understand the question, because you guys have to write stories. We're not writing a story. We're just trying to get better every day, and we're part of the process. But I think there's a bunch of guys that the cool part for us that we see getting better every day, and it's like, wow, that kid's getting better and better and better. We're an ascending team. I think we're working on that, and so we'll pick our head up in December and figure out where we are with this whole thing. But our mindset is we played a lot of snaps today. Our guys got to rest up. And then make sure we're ready for tomorrow, because we got another really, really good team. That's a ranked team in Oregon State. Jonathan does a really good job. This game 2 weeks ago was 38-35 between Oregon State and Washington State. It was a heck of a football game. So I anticipate next week's going to be a heck of a football game too.
Seemed break there, you were doing some things to help Dante, a lot of rollouts, quick passes. Did you adjust to help him, get in a rhythm with things like that?
No. Again, everything we do is based upon what the defense does. So you could say, hey man, we got to roll out. Well, if they got 6 guys blitzing off the outside on the right, rolling out into that's not a really good play. So they ran a lot of internal pressures. They got us early in the game with some internal pressure, so we had in our game plan that we need to get the ball in the perimeter. So it's really based upon what the defense is doing and what we determined during the week that they're going to do based on the games that they played. So going into this game, our game plan was to move the pocket a little bit and get him on the move, because they're really stout and can do a lot of things inside. So that was kind of part of the game plan.
Coach, when you have defense clicking like yours is, and a quarterback who's getting his feet or is getting his legs under, still learning, does it help him like mentally just a tiny bit? You sort of alleviate some of the pressure, knowing that his defense has his back, like yours has.
Maybe. I mean, that's probably a good question for Dante. But I think it's a team thing. Like our defense fueled us early in that game, and I think our guys feed off of that. And if you see the energy that Latu and Darius and K. Medrano and the Murphys and those guys play with, I think it's infectious, and I think it permeates throughout the whole program. So they can give energy to us, and there's times when we're going to have to give energy to them when it flips. But I think it's the mark of a good team. It's a really connected team, and they really care about each other. So.
Coach, can you talk about the pass defense? I think Cam Ward had 0 interceptions through this game, and today you guys forced 2, and there was just really tight pressure across the board. What are your thoughts on how they performed?
Yeah, that was a question Ben asked earlier in the week. How is your back end going to hold up? And I don't think anybody knew, but I think they held up pretty good. I'll talk to those guys in the locker room, but I think that whole back end, there were not a lot of guys running clean through things. I think that entire group, the group of safeties that play and the group of corners that play, did a really, really good job. And that's where we're playing really good defense. That it's not just the front, the back end can hold up too. Because there were some times that, and I don't know the clock number, but Cam kept some plays around for a long time. And just kept scrambling because he's just such a difficult player. And he always scrambles to throw. He's not really scrambling to run. So that means you have to stay in coverage for a really, really long time. And if he's continuing to run around and scramble, then that means our guys are doing a good job on the back end. And I was really happy for him. I thought Hump and Kirk and Jalen did a really good job. And then the work Kamari and Churchwell and obviously Alex Johnson has been playing at a really, really high level right now. But Jordan Anderson played really well for us today. I thought Will Nimmo played really well for us today. So I think that whole group is all starting to grow a little bit. We obviously were a little bit younger on the back end than we were on the front end, but I think they're feeding off each other right now.
Carson Steele was a workhorse for you tonight, but it seems like any running back could kind of step into that role depending on the game. So just how diverse is your running back room? Okay, maybe not quite like he could, but like how diverse is your running back room at this point?
We do have some depth, and I think that's one of the strengths of our team, and I think it's a really good point. We have depth there, but you watch him start to get rolling and running through tackles, and if I'm a defensive coach, I don't know what to do because we schemed it up and we have an unblocked guy that should make the tackle for a gain of 3, and he runs through the guy. Even the last play, we had to get 1 first down to finish the game. And on the first play, he just ran through like 3 guys and just kept going. I mean, he's a downhill physical football player. But I think the fact that TJ can play, and I know Anthony Atkins can really play, and I know Keegan can play, and I know Colson can play. So that depth will be tested at some point in time during the year. Knock on wood, we've been extremely healthy as a team. A lot of that is from our strength and conditioning program and what we do. But we know that we're going to get tested, and the fact that we have some depth there is a real positive for us.
And then the delay of game disconcerting signal call. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is and maybe why it's happened 2 games in a row?
That's an unbelievable question, and I do not have an answer.
Coach, the 2-point conversion, you guys line up in that jumbo package, and then Colson Yankoff goes in motion. Is that a designed run, or is that an option where Dante can pass to Yankoff?
It was a run or a pass.
Okay. And from your perspective, could you tell maybe
It didn't work.
It
That was my perspective. It didn't work.
Fair enough.
Hey, Coach Kelly, quick question about Carson Steele. I mean, he had 30 carries tonight. Was that something that you were going into the game, maybe thinking Carson would get the load of the carries, or was it just something that you were riding the hot hand and you were?
Yeah, Deshaun Foster does a great job with him, and Dee does all the substitution at that position. So, but we did not talk or discuss, what's the amount of carries we're going to have. I don't think anybody on our staff or anybody thought we would run 97 plays in this game. You know what I mean? Especially knowing the heat and all those other things and what that's going to be like. But I think it's a testament to our guys on the offensive side of the ball, and I think that's just how this game ended up expressing itself. There's going to be games where we have to throw the ball more than we have to run the ball, or vice versa. And I think it just depends on what type of game you're getting involved in. But you can't go in and say we have to run it this amount or we got to throw it that amount. So, but we were fortunate that we had Carson, so we could do that with him. So.
Chip, just on the missed extra point in the field goal, anything that you saw in terms of the operation?
One of the holds wasn't great, but we'll get to the bottom of that. But the rest of it, I thought, those first 2, it was just, sometimes it's just a miss. We hadn't missed one yet. RJ had been really, really good, but we'll go over that whole, watch a film and correct it, so we're good. But we can keep talking because we played at noon, so we don't. People in Manila are not going to get up for a long time. They're going to want to know what happened. So if you guys are good, I'll leave. But Ben, you don't have a deadline or anything, do you, right? You got a ton of time.
Yeah, well, that's another conversation about the LA
Conversation.
The disconcerting thing, not the infraction part, but what's the rule?
I really don't have a great answer for you. I'm not, I couldn't discuss it with you, but I don't. We've discussed it with the league office, and it's up to the officials on game day and what they say, so, you're not allowed to mimic their snap count, and there is no snap count on a field goal, so I'm as confused as everybody else.
Hey, Coach Kelly, one more question about the offensive play call. You said you were running 97 plays. As an offensive-minded coach, what's it like having to, dive deep into your playbook to come up with 97 effective plays in a game?
I was gonna say, it's good to call 97 plays because you make a lot of mistakes, but I appreciate that you said we called 97 effective plays. It's just how the game expresses itself, and I think, I thought our coaching staff, there's a lot of talk on the sideline, and ultimately I call the play, but it's not, there was a lot of contributions, hey, we've done this, can we come back with this? Guys, saying, hey, when we do this happens, good, that's a great idea. So just like it is on the defensive side of the ball, it's very, very collaborative on the offensive side of the ball, and we have a great staff. Tim Drevno and Ryan Gunderson and Deshaun Foster and Jeff Ferris and Jerry do a great job. If everybody contributed, and that's the cool part about it, is that everybody had a big part in that. And there were some calls that they made, like, hey, we should go to this. I wouldn't even think of that. That's a great call. Let's come back and let's go there. So it was a good, I thought our staff in both sides did a really good job, especially with in-game adjustments today. Because when you play in a tight game like that, there's going to be a lot of in-game adjustments, and I thought both sides of the ball did a really good job of that.
Coach, after the Utah game, you
I
mentioned...
was joking about staying here. I said it was a good line to walk out the door.
You mentioned having a moment with Kyle Whittingham about playing the last time against Utah.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of moment about today about, maybe the
I talked to Pat
minutes?
Chung a little bit. I think it's a travesty that Washington State's not in the conference. That to me is a joke. That's a really, really good football team in a school that's had a bunch of tradition. And it's the same thing with Oregon State. The fact that those two schools aren't in a Power 5 conference or won't be in a Power 5 conference next year is so that people should figure it out. There's a lot of really smart people in college athletics, but if we let those two schools not end up in a Power 5, then shame on us. That's just not right. You're talking about two nationally ranked football teams that do it the right way, and I've got a ton of respect for both of those programs, and I hope things work out for them because they deserve to play football at the highest level because they can play football at the highest level. So I can't talk about the officials. I'm not going to talk about the NCAA. So we'll just let that go as it is. But I got a ton of respect, and I think those are two outstanding programs, and we're going to play them back to back. And you saw what they were like today, and we know what it's going to be like next week when we go to Corvallis. So we'll leave on that.